talk about really miserable and trash pickup guy.
Chaos gripped the courtroom as Cassie's husband suddenly lunged at Diddy mid-testimony. Gasps filled the air while court officers scrambled to intervene. The judge shouted for order, slamming the gavel repeatedly. Spectators and press stood, frozen, shocked by the outburst. The intense moment disrupted ongoing proceedings and threw the trial into momentary disarray. Tensions had been high, but no one expected violence to erupt inside the courtroom.
They went through, it was because there's a lot of jurors. There's like, I think the pool was like anywhere from like 150, 175. I believe it's 150 people big.
So you got to see the jurors?
Not all of them.
Cassie sat stunned as her husband broke from the gallery and charged Diddy, who had just taken the witness stand. Security intercepted him inches away from contact, dragging him out forcefully. His rage echoed through the room, shouting accusations. That couldn't be ignored. Court officials immediately called for a recess. The judge ordered a psychological evaluation to determine the attacker's mental state during the courtroom incident.
Down how jurors' knowledge of these people varied.
Yeah, there were some jurors who knew different people. So like there was—
Were they old?
It was old and young. So there was one woman, she was an older white woman. She thought Michael B. Jordan was Michael Jordan, but she knew that it was a celebrity.
Diddy appeared visibly shaken after the attempted assault. Though unhurt, he requested additional security and a private chamber to regain composure. His legal team demanded consequences for the attack, citing endangerment and emotional distress. Meanwhile, Cassie's husband was detained and interrogated about his motives. Some courtroom insiders whispered this incident may shift public sympathy toward Diddy, portraying him as a victim amid ongoing scrutiny.
Everyone should be here, all the family should be here today, and just thank you guys for being here. I want everyone to be kind, no pushing, no shoving, none of that kind of stuff. I know when the mics, when everyone's in there, the mics are hot, I don't want to hear anything negative.
Legal analysts began speculating whether the courtroom chaos would trigger a mistrial. The defense argued that the attack created bias and undue influence on jurors. Prosecutors insisted the trial should proceed, pointing out that the accused attacker wasn't part of either legal team. The judge, now under pressure, weighed both sides carefully, while the media ran wild with headlines portraying the moment as historic courtroom drama.
Upbeat. I think, obviously this is a huge deal, and so he's just ready to have his side told.
Did he take his thumb?
I have no idea. That's for his lawyers to decide.
I hope it's the end of an era that has brought nothing but hate. At the end of the day, music should be cruelty-free. That's my company. That's what I stand for. Cruelty-free artistry.
Outside the courtroom, protesters gathered with renewed energy. Some supported Cassie's husband, calling his actions a raw cry for justice, while others condemned the violence. News vans swarmed the courthouse, and the story dominated headlines. Nationwide, social media exploded with clips and speculation, making the courtroom brawl a trending topic. Hashtags like Diddy attack and courtroom chaos flooded timelines, turning a legal trial into a viral phenomenon.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
Cassie's reaction, or lack thereof, became a hot topic of discussion. Though visibly shaken, she remained composed, refusing to comment when reporters approached her outside. Her silence sparked debate. Was she silently supportive of her husband's rage or completely blindsided? Some speculated she had warned court officials beforehand of his deteriorating mental state. Whatever the truth, her role in the moment added more mystery to the spectacle.
I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, going to rehab. I had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry.
The judge called for a temporary suspension of proceedings to assess courtroom security protocols. A full investigation was launched into how Cassie's husband managed to breach the barrier and get so close to Diddy. Court officers faced scrutiny over their response time. Legal experts said this incident could prompt stricter regulations in high-profile celebrity trials. Public trust in courtroom security was suddenly a national concern.
Now, you talked about this. You said that Diddy was on a lot of drugs when this happened.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, but you did say he was on a lot of drugs during that time.
Oh, I kind of figured that based off just him having conversations with me about the whole scenario of what went down.
He like stomped on my stomach, like really hard, and I like took the wind out of my breath. I couldn't breathe. Took my hair and like was dragging me across like the grass in my hair with my hair.
Meanwhile, jurors were escorted out of the room and sequestered in a separate location. Court psychologists were brought in to evaluate their emotional state. Concerns grew about their ability to remain impartial after witnessing such a traumatic scene. Some whispered that the case might now hinge more on courtroom theatrics than legal arguments. The justice system itself appeared on edge, forced to adapt in real time.
That the first step was there was like and they would have to do would be heard
in a surprise twist. A leaked video from inside the courtroom showed the exact moment Cassie's husband screamed, "You ruined her life," before charging Diddy. The clip quickly went viral, adding fuel to speculation about personal vendettas behind the case. Analysts questioned whether Cassie's husband acted spontaneously or if deeper plans had been in motion. The line between legal evidence and emotional spectacle blurred further.
Step 2, she alleges, is that's when all the baby oil comes out. She says that, you know, it was very well choreographed. Like, it was almost, when she was describing it, I was like, it sounds like he was shooting a music video.
Executive producing.
No, for real. So that first step was the descriptive foreplay, and then step 2 was the touch. She said that the first step was there was like and they would have to do would be her and an escort, and she would have to talk out loud and describe what she was seeing.
Diddy's legal team quickly filed for additional protective orders. They claimed this attack highlighted the increasing threats against their client's safety. Some insiders revealed that this was not the first threat Diddy had received since the trial began. Speculation grew about whether other courtroom witnesses or even jurors might be in danger. The trial now stood at the crossroads of justice, celebrity, and escalating violence.
She said that they would oil up so much. That was like a big thing for Puff, allegedly. Like, you had to be oiled, that every 5 minutes they were like just re-oiling because
he wants you to look like a shiny suit.
Yeah, because it glistens, and I guess it's the sexiness of baby oil.
She just was doing it because she was so in love, and she said she didn't want him to go and do it with anybody else. Now, step 4 was the actual intercourse where they would engage in, you know.
Cassie's husband, once a relatively unknown figure, became an overnight symbol of emotional outrage. News channels aired past interviews and social media posts analyzing his state of mind and previous comments on Diddy. Psychologists weighed in, labeling his behavior a classic fight-or-flight response. Others called it calculated. The public remained divided. Was he a protective spouse pushed too far, or an unstable man seeking attention?
Said that a lot of times after they would finish, the escorts would have a happy ending, and Puff would make her take that happy ending and rub it on his nipple, and then they would engage in whatever they were going to do, just Cassie and Puff allegedly.
So his man milk on Puff's.
That's what Cassie's alleging, that that Puff liked her to rub it on his chest and on his nipples.
So chocolate-covered nipples with a semen drizzle.
Yo, glaze. Shut up, man.
And glaze, we have to say glaze.
And we've heard this story, but she said that, because we heard before that there were extra linens because
of dookie on the sheets.
So what she said was she was actually made to have freak-offs during her period, and so there would be blood on a lot of the sheet.
Court transcripts from the day's events revealed that Diddy had just begun addressing allegations involving Cassie when the attack occurred. The timing felt almost cinematic. Just as painful memories were being recounted, chaos broke loose. Some observers saw it as poetic justice, others called it a gross obstruction. Either way, the courtroom incident instantly overshadowed Diddy's testimony and redirected the public's focus toward raw emotion.
He felt vulnerable because he had shared this secret of these voyeurisms and freak-offs that he liked to do. She didn't want another woman coming in and swooping up in her place. And a lot of times she alleges, and we saw actual text messages they brought up where she tried to tell him she didn't want to do a freak-off. He shows up in an NYPD t-shirt and he says, he alleges, Cassie opens the door. She's in red lingerie. She's in a wig, dark glasses, and pump. He told him he worked in import to exports. So when he said that, he said, I instantly caught the voice. And I'm like, well, how did you catch the voice? He said, I've been listening to this man, majority of my whole life. Exactly. Because the prosecutors opened up that literally probably like 15 minutes before that. The prosecutors were like, Cassie is going to tell you that Diddy allegedly made this escort urinate on her. That there's an escort sitting in front of us sworn in on the stand saying, no, Cassie told me that one time he couldn't get hard anymore because he went to Cassie's house. They got comfortable with him. He came to Cassie's house. When he was there, Cassie and Diddy was in the room. He was outside in the living room. Diddy comes out and goes off on Cassie, like allegedly beats her up bad because she took a long time to come back in the room to him. And he said after he saw that, that was his first time seeing her get physically
Security around Diddy was tripled following the incident. Cameras caught him leaving the courthouse surrounded by a swarm of bodyguards, visibly pale. His attorneys told reporters that their client was traumatized, but committed to clearing his name. Meanwhile, courtroom staff received counseling and new rules were implemented barring public spectators. Unless pre-approved, the event marked a turning point in how celebrity trials would be conducted.
It was awkward for me to watch them have to listen to all of this. After he started, the male escort started getting into a lot of the and stuff, they got up and left. She decided to go deal with somebody else, so she dipped. Puff was coming, he came, he's looking for her, can't find her. He grabs his gun. Two of his staff members, one of the staff members said that she did not want to go, and allegedly she was forced to go, so they labeled that kidnapping. And they went to this man's house looking for Cassie in this rage. Cassie wasn't there, and it was like all hell broke loose. What they did was own up to everything. They're like, look, he was angry. He can't control his anger. He, might have abused drugs and been a horrible boyfriend. Y'all gonna hear text messages and audios that make him sound like a horrible person, and that he may have been. All of the most horrible things you could think about him when it comes to how he dealt with the women in his life, he's owning up.
The judge reconvened court 2 days later, this time under tighter restrictions. No phones, fewer press seats, and increased police presence filled the room. Both legal teams agreed to resume proceedings cautiously. Cassie was absent, citing emotional distress. Her husband remained in custody, awaiting a separate hearing. The Diddy trial, once focused on corporate misconduct and betrayal, had evolved into something far more personal and unpredictable.
We wouldn't be arguing today. If he was charged with abuse in a certain way, we wouldn't be arguing today. But because he's charged with everything else, the sex trafficking and all these other things, we're here because he's not guilty of that. Now, Diddy's team is saying...
so that's why the video matters to the court.
Diddy's team is saying, no, because freak-offs weren't a thing. You guys were consensually engaging in sexual acts, but that's not even what happened here. So he instantly starts getting him. He's like, okay, so you mentioned something about Cassie having a purple eye when you got off of the elevator. Why wasn't that in your incident report? The man said, well, I didn't think that was significant to put in. Brian still said, so you thought it was significant today, but it wasn't significant 9 years ago? So then he says, you said that you saw a man inside of their hotel room. Why wasn't that in your incident report? Did you ask the man his name? Did you talk to him? And he was like, no, because the man didn't really say anything. So because he's inferring that because these are all white women on the jury, that based on race, white women are going to convict a black man because of the race component. That's what he's implying by pointing to the fact that it's all white women who are going to prosecute Puff.
In the days that followed, conspiracy theories exploded online. Some claimed the attack was staged to garner sympathy. Others believed it was a last-ditch attempt to halt the trial. Amid all the noise, the core allegations against Diddy remained in limbo. But one thing was clear. The courtroom wasn't just a place for justice anymore. It had become a stage where personal demons fought in public view.